AITA for not wanting to keep the secret that my daughter isn't my biological child from my family anymore. Story 1. TWSA. Hi, 36M. I've been with my wife since we were 19 and have been married for 12 years now. We have 2 daughters, 6F4F, and are trying for a third right now. So the truth is that my older daughter isn't my child biologically, even though she's 100% my daughter in my eyes. I don't want to get into the details here, but my wife was raped a few years after we got married. The guy is in prison for it now. The issue is my wife is incredibly private about this, and while her parents know everything, she's never told anyone in my family what happened to her. Shortly after the attack, my wife got pregnant, and we weren't sure if the baby was mine or not. We had a prenatal paternity test done before our daughter was born, and it confirmed she wasn't mine, but I told my wife I'd love the child and raise her like my own. We agreed to keep this between us. Her parents don't even know, but they probably suspect since it didn't seem like anyone else's concern at the time. We obviously plan on telling my daughter when she's older, but as of right now, she thinks I'm her biological father. The biology issue has never been an issue for me since I've been with my older daughter all of her life and love her so much. The issue is as she gets older, it's becoming clearer and clearer that she looks nothing like me or my other daughter. I come from a Portuguese family, and my younger daughter and I both have olive skin and dark, curly hair. My older daughter has blonde hair and blue eyes like my wife. My parents have always loved my wife, but for the last few years I can tell things have shifted. My mom doesn't make much of an effort to spend time with her like she does with my brother's wives. In general, her demeanor towards my wife is polite but cool, which isn't how she behaved towards her in the past. A few weeks ago, I got coffee with my mom, and she kept making comments about my daughter's blue eyes and skin tone. She didn't come out and ask if she was mine, but it felt like she was implying that. All I could think to say in the moment is that she looks just like her mother. This conversation has been eating at me. I'm worried my parents think my wife cheated on me, and it's impacting their views on her. I just don't want anyone in my family to assume the worst about my wife, because she hasn't done anything wrong and is a great spouse and mother. Last night, I told my wife about the conversation with my mother. I explained that my daughter looks nothing like me, and it's getting more and more obvious. I asked if she'd consider telling my parents the truth about our daughter so my family doesn't think she cheated. My wife got teary and said it wasn't their concern, and she doesn't want anyone to know and treat our daughter differently. I told her my parents would be heartbroken for her, but they'd never treat a little girl who I love so much differently over something she had no control over. I also said it's obvious to anyone with eyes that she's not mine, and it would be better to be truthful than to act like she has something to hide. I told my wife I will ultimately respect her decision, but I really don't want to keep this secret anymore, and it's causing me stress. She's been upset the last few days, and I'm not sure what the right thing to do is. I honestly just don't want her to be judged unfairly because of something that was done to her. AITA, first comment. Once you start telling others, I bet there's someone who will not keep the secret, and soon everyone will know. I fear your wife would hate that, and not everyone would be kind and understanding. Some assholes would likely tell your daughter, and that is a secret that you want to be able to tell her very carefully and only when you're ready. Second comment. I have cousins that are twins. One is blonde with blue eyes and fair skin. The other is brunette with dark brown eyes and tan skin. Tell your family that genetics are crazy and leave it at that. At some point, you will probably want to have a discussion with your daughter about her biological father, but that's something you and your wife should do together. Third comment. I am very confused as to why you think your family, especially your mom, will not treat your daughter differently if they find out. Your mom already treats your wife differently. Do you really want to expose your daughter to bias based on something she had absolutely no control over? Your mom can think whatever she wants. What is important is how she treats your wife. I highly recommend you meet with your mom and confront her about how she is treating your wife. You should not tell her about the rape, etc. You should have called her out on her behavior long ago. Your mom is the last person who should know about the rape and the DNA test. I guarantee she will treat your daughter differently. Will you allow that as well? Your wife went through hell. Speaking from experience, what happened isn't something you get over. She obviously has moved on, but trust me when I tell you, the ramifications are lifelong. Your wife is absolutely correct that your daughter will be treated differently. Story 2. AITA for wanting to divorce my MTF wife? My spouse 47 MTF and I 44F have been married for almost 17 years. When we got married, she was male presenting. We have 3 kids. We own a house, have pets, and take good care of each other in the ways that matter. We share expenses, bank accounts, all that regular stuff. 10 years into our marriage, my spouse began to transition to female. I was conflicted, but wanted to be supportive. Honestly, it was really inspiring seeing her become the person she is supposed to be. A lot changed, in good ways, bad ways, and ways I'm not even sure about. We are very open and transparent with our children about transgender experiences and LGBT issues. Before her transition, we've taught our children that love is love. That people, regardless of how similar or different than yourself, deserve your respect. They were really great with the changes happening at home. Anyway, our marriage became rocky in the beginning of her transition. Not that that's a surprise. But it's been almost 7 years and I still feel that turbulence. I cry so much, and I feel tremendously lonely. I started antidepressants, which helped just a little. I miss my husband so much. I miss the comfort of a man. I am so filled with sorrow that I try to keep hidden. I hate when people say shit like you're a good person for staying because she's the same person you married, bitch. No, she is not the same person, and it is a downright insult to her to even suggest that. She's completely different. She doesn't just look and dress differently, she speaks differently, she touches me differently, she wants different things out of life now. She is not the same person. But worse, I don't feel like a good person for staying. I know this is the right subreddit to post in. I just can't decide if I'm more of an asshole for wanting to leave or for trying to stay. As I mentioned, we have 3 kids, a house, pets, blah blah blah. It would be so much chaos and difficulty to leave. She doesn't want me to leave. We have discussed it, but we both end up moving past the conversation. Besides, like I said, we take care of each other in ways that matter. When we're sick, if one of us has to work late, when there's a problem, when we see a funny meme that no one else would laugh at, we're there for each other. All that being said, and this is a true asshole confession, I don't love her. No, I love her, but I am not in love with her and haven't been for a long time. We aren't intimate much. When we have tried, it's been awkward and confusing. I feel like I'm just pleasing myself next to her while she is doing the same. It's not intimate, it's lonely despite the person next to me. We haven't made love, not just making ourselves come, made love since before she transitioned. It's been probably 9 or 10 years. My God, I miss it. So, I know I'm the asshole. But is it for staying and pretending to be happy, or is it for wanting to leave and maybe find what I'm missing in a male companion with my little bit of time left? First comment. NTA. You said at one point that you take care of each other in ways that matter, and it's clear that you do take care of each other in a lot of ways that matter, and you have done an amazing job of helping your children navigate this whole process. But there is something else that matters. You are a heterosexual woman. You have spent almost a decade without having a satisfying asexual relationship. It's time to stop thinking of everyone else and remember that your needs are important too. You cannot continue to be unhappy just so that everyone else is happy. Life doesn't have to be a constant sacrifice. Second comment. Oh honey, you are a straight woman who needs a husband, not a wife. Stop taking those antidepressants just so you can stay in one-sided loveless marriage. Both of you should feel supported in this partnership. This isn't how you describe this situation though. You deserve happiness as much as your wife does. Third comment. Oh, NTA. Like you said, this is not the person you married, and it's kind of obvious you're not a lesbian on your own. Props on trying for her. There's many points of compatibility you need to make a marriage work. Physical and intimate compatibility are missing from yours. Your spouse is using you in the marriage as an emotional support crutch with very little thought to your emotional needs. Story 3. My wife found my diary from 10 years ago where I confessed I would move heaven and earth for a chance to be with my ex again. AITA? My wife 30F and I 30M have been married for 4 years and together for 9. We also have 2 children. However, we've run into a major hurdle now, and my wife seems extremely sad. My wife and I visited our parents' house last month. It has a pretty big attic which also has a closet. I have a lot of fond childhood memories of the attic. That's where I spent a lot of time with my ex too. My wife found a diary inside the closet of the attic. It was my personal diary from many years ago. I had no issues with it and nothing to hide, and my wife was very excited to read the diary. However, I had completely forgotten what I had written in my diary. For some background, I was deep in love with my ex. We were in a relationship for almost 7 years before she had to move back to her home country of Serbia. When we did break up, we decided to not to reach out to each other ever again because my ex wasn't sure she'd ever come back to the US. The breakup really hurt, and I wrote a lot of my thoughts in my diary. It had all sorts of love letters, my deep feelings for my ex, how I would do anything to be with her again. A couple of months after I broke up with my ex, I did meet my current wife. She wasn't a rebound, but she also wasn't something I was super serious about initially because I still wasn't over my ex. However, after dating my girlfriend for a year, I completely fell in love with my girlfriend and had all but forgotten about my ex. The issue is that my wife read all those thoughts on my diary, including the timeline, as every entry had a date on top of it. My wife seems very sad now. She thinks she was a rebound for my ex, which I completely disagree with. I have reassured my wife I love her, and that what we did when we're in college shouldn't be taken seriously. I am very worried now because we have a stable life. I love my wife and our children, but my wife just seems a complete shell of herself since reading the diary entries. I have reassured her many times. I've taken her out to eat in fancy places. I've written her love letters, but she still doesn't seem over it. I am worried this minor thing can end our marriage. AITA. First comment. I think that knowing she was so in love with you and you so in love with someone else is what hurt her.